All right. Hey, guess what? Good evening. My name is Mark Benshop. I almost, this is something else because I'm starting the show even 1 minute before 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 1 minute before 9 o'clock in beautiful, beautiful Georgetown, Guyana. Right. And so let's just say it's 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Good evening to all of you. Start sharing the link. We have a packed program here this evening. We have with us our first guest in the first half, Mr. Philip Bynoe. He is with us this evening. In fact, he's already in studio waiting for this interview to start right off the bat because we're not going to beat around the bush. We're getting straight to the point. We want to find out from our guests what's happening, the future of Guyana. We're not going to mingle much about the past and all these sort of things. But my first guest, Mr. Philip Bynoe, obviously no stranger to a lot of you. Certainly no stranger to me, right? But what we want to get is some historical background, not too long. We don't want to bore you much with, but we want to talk about the history. The way forward with Guyana. I'm going to ask Mr. Bynoe some questions about what he thinks about the upcoming Congress, about the future of Guyana, and the current situation in that beautiful mining town of Linden. We'll be right back. So share the link. We're ready to rock and roll with you this evening. But don't forget, after Mr. Philip Bynoe, we have Ms. Vanessa Kissoon and Mr. Sharma Solomon. Lots of things this evening, a packed program. We'll be right back.
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief? Number one, the ordinary thief steals your money, your bag, your watch, and your jewelry, isn't it? But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. Number two, the hilarious part is that the ordinary thief will choose whom to rob. But you are the one who choose the political thief to rob you. Because we choose them. We vote them. We blindly say we are not blind. Who is deceiving who? The ridiculous part of the whole issue is that we will fight to defend and protect our belongings from the ordinary thief. Is it not? But we fight each other to defend and protect the political thief. Is that not what we do? Thugs will be fighting themselves to protect those that are stealing our career, stealing our joy, stealing our health, stealing our success. What a shame. What a travesty. It calls for us to think and think deep. The stage we are in as a country is not a stage where you become an onlooker. You have become an onlooker for too long. You must get ready to put your hands to the plow and be part of the process. It's not just about PVC, carry PVC. You must be in the kitchen where it is being determined. You must be there where the decisions are being made. We are there in our numbers, they cannot outnumber us. But you leave it aloof. Oh, no, it's too dirty. It's a dirty game. And then the dirty guy is getting to the game of play. And you are there not showing up. And when they begin to make the decisions, you will know whether it's a dirty game or not. The result is always dirty on yours. Dirty on your health. Dirty on your business. Dirty on your success and your career. I hope that is stirring up something in you.
It's an eco-friendly Christmas. The Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union is pleased to present our annual Christmas promotion, commencing November 1st, 2021 and concludes December 17, 2021. The credit union recognizes and acknowledges the importance of minimizing our carbon footprint and has tailored this year's promotion to suit by presenting our members with an electric car and bikes, which will undoubtedly raise awareness and help our members to adopt. To participate, one must be a member of the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union, must like and follow the credit union's Facebook page, must have an existing loan with the credit union, must be in good standing with the credit union, must not be an immediate family member of any staff or committee member, must earn a gross of less than $150,000 monthly, and proof of this fact must be attached. And only one coupon is allowed per member. It's an eco-friendly Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Killian Mall, 162 Lamaha Street, in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins Firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins Firm.
Welcome to Straight Up. My name is Mark Benshop. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. It's 6 minutes after 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 6 minutes after 9 o'clock in beautiful Guyana. Thank you so much for sharing the link. We have lots of things we want to talk about. And what this program basically is all about is the democracy, a democratic process. And for those of you who believe in democracy, you will understand what democracy is all about. You can't mix democracy with a little bit of dictatorship and this sort of dictatorial tendency that you want to beat up on someone because they chose their democratic or they exercise their democratic right to choose someone. It's democracy, right? That is what we do here. We don't get ticklish and thin-skinned and so forth, and Straight Up, we don't do that. Our listeners, our ardent supporters, good evening to all of you. Luther, Malcolm, Luther, all the guys, every single one of you. Gloria, Simone, good evening to you. You know, I can go on and on and on. Where is J.R. Crawford? Is he with us? Should we wait for him? Simone Marks and all the crew. Mary Jane Eden, how are you doing? I haven't seen you in so many years. Patricia and all of you, spread the word. Guess who is with me? He's in studio. He's ready to rock and roll. Keith Evans, how are you? Let's prepare. Where is Lemon? Lemon is with us. And you guys, I got to show you guys a picture of Lemon. He has on a shirt and tie. That's the guy. And then we have Candace Narayan all the way in Guyana. Candace, good evening. Good evening and welcome. Share the link, all of you. Before we go to Mr. Philip Bynoe, guess what? Tomorrow morning, we have a spanking new program, a brand new program right here on 107.1 FM. It's called The Mid-Morning Show. And the Mid-Morning Show right here on 107.1 FM, there is the host, Gabriella Patram. She is our host, along with her DJ, Selector Andre. So that is where we've gone. Look forward for this show. She will be running through what's in the newspapers, what are some of the current affairs there, what's happening right there in Georgetown, Guyana, in our studio, where we will be broadcasting live. And for those of you who are in your vehicles, you can tune into 107.1 FM. But guess what? Guess what? Here is what's happening. Let's get straight down to business. Let me welcome for the first time on 107.1 FM, Mr. Philip Bynoe. Good evening to you, sir, and welcome.
Pleasant good evening to you, Mark. And I must say that I am happy that you're having me on your program, on your show. And I must say, a very warm welcome to your listeners and viewers. And I hope that we can have a very structured and intelligent discourse while I remain on your program, sir. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for being. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. But if you can do us just one quick favor, though, we'd love for you to speak up a little bit. We'd appreciate that so much. We will appreciate that, Mr. Bynoe. Let's get straight down to business, sir. Before I ask the first question, let me take this time out on behalf of all of us here on 107.1 FM to wish you, belatedly, of course, a belated birthday greetings, 17 or 18 years. I don't know. How was your birthday?
Oh, it was excellent, Mark. It was good. I couldn't ask for better. My wife and my children and my everybody, my in-laws, everybody gathered around me and showered me with love. The many friends that we had. Oh, it was an excellent birthday party.
Glad that you've enjoyed it. And we want to wish you many more birth anniversaries to come along. Let's begin with, though, for many folks who have heard of you, Philip Bynoe. Give us a brief background as to this man, Philip Bynoe. Whereabouts in Guyana you're from, and what were some of your dreams when you were a little boy growing up?
The dreams were so many I can't remember them. I'm from Corriverton. I was born in Skeldon, later to be named Corriverton, and I started.
Let me just stop you for one quick second, Mr. Bynoe. Sorry about that. I'm looking at some of the comments. They're asking for your volume, please. But go ahead. It's at your end. A little more, please. We'd appreciate it.
Are you hearing me? Hold on, Mark. Let me.
Sure, that's okay.
My volume is at max.
Perfect. Now your voice is perfect. Continue, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, I was saying that I was born in Skeldon, which later became Corriverton, and I grew up there. I cut my political teeth during the 1960s in Oriala, and then I moved back to Corriverton, and then I expanded. I was the secretary of the YSM on the Quarantine Coast during the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. And then I was transferred to Linden in 1972. And there is where I stayed until now. And all of the rest of my political interactions occurred while I was a resident of Linden.
All right, good to go. And let's describe when you left Corriverton, Skeldon, an area that I'm pretty much I'm familiar with. When you left there and went to Linden in 1972, describe Linden back then.
Well, Linden was not as developed then as it is now. Amelia's Ward was just a few houses. The bauxite company, however, was really doing well, employed about 4,000 or 5,000 persons. What else can I say? The Mackenzie was not as developed then as it is now. Wisma did not have as many houses as it does now. Wisrock, for example, and the greater extension of Wisrock, which has many beautiful houses now, were not there. 1 mile extension, 1 mile, those areas were not there. What we had was Silvertongue, Silver City, Blueberry Hill, a little part of Blueberry Hill. But Linden has truly grown. Linden has truly grown. Particularly Amelia's Ward has grown. Nowadays, when people who do not belong to Linden come to Linden to take out photographs, they focus on Mackenzie and the undeveloped areas in Wisma, and they give a very pejorative outlook of what Linden is. But they don't come to Amelia's Ward, and they don't go to greater Wisrock area, where the development is really taking place. where the indomitable spirit of the citizens of Linden can be made visible, where we see development, where we see Linden people putting out their all, where we see a shift of the population taking place. But we don't have these discussions. We only hear that Linden is a depressed community, and we don't see these things, but we need to, because very soon, particularly the greater Wizrock area and Amelia's Ward, those areas are going to surprise this entire country.
All right. When you say the depressed, I mean, in what aspect are you talking about? Political, economical? Because Linden was at one time, in terms of the bauxite industry, it was like the breadbasket of Guyana. The bauxite industry actually fed the entire Guyana when other folks were doing other stuff with the cane field. Do you believe that Linden should have been better developed than it is right now?
I am saying to you that development is taking place. There is a shift. There is a shift of the population from the areas known as Wisma and to a greater extent Mackenzie into what I call Greater Wizrock area and the Mills Ward. And anybody that comes on the ground is going to see with their own eyes how the shift is taking place. I do not ascribe to the view that Linden is a depressed area. I don't, because I see the shift taking place. I see investment that is coming from local resources, from the people of Linden. I see that investment taking place. And it is taking place in areas that I mentioned earlier. So while I agree with you that Linden should have been more developed, of course Linden should have been more developed, much more developed. The coalition government should have prepared a blueprint, a master development plan for Region 10, and particularly Linden. And they should have financed the greater portion of this development plan. Look, for example, our market at Mackenzie. It is a highly depressed area. It's very depressed. It is so depressed that I don't go there anymore. Okay? Now, it would have been easy for the coalition government to sponsor the construction of a beautiful edifice to replace the market at Mackenzie, which would have transformed the outlook of this town. Okay, that could have been easily done. And there are many more areas where I think that the coalition let down this town that gave them 19,000 plus votes. In the context of the 2020 elections, do you know the value of 19,000 plus votes? And Region 10 provided those votes to the coalition in the 2020 elections. So they could have done more, much more. But I don't want to dwell on that now. What I want to continue saying is that Linden is not a depressed town.
All right, even though the figure might show that 75% of the population is actually unemployed, lots of youths, once they're out of school, there's no employment, absolutely nothing, unless something privately is created for them or they got to go and dig drains or whatever like that. Economically depressed, you're not willing to say that the tongue is experiencing some sort of economic depression at this point in time. And my next concern is, you did say, and maybe I'll agree with you, that the coalition should have done more in Linden, or by extension Region 10, because they have Ituni and Kokwani and so forth. But some folks can easily say, well, Rome wasn't built in a day, and the coalition government just had a short time to even do so much or undo lots of damages done by the PPP regime. What is your take on that?
Mark, I agree that Rome was not built in a day, but it was a question of intent, demonstrating your intent. Let me make an example, Let me give you an example. The Mackenzie-Wismar Bridge. The Mackenzie-Wismar Bridge could have been designed and construction could have started. That would have demonstrated intent. Do you know when they started to come and have consultations about the design of the Wismar-Mackenzie Bridge? After the no confidence motion was passed. And during the last period after the elections, then is when they came in to hustle with that. That is one example. And your statistics about 75% of the population being unemployed is absolutely incorrect. Incorrect. I don't know where you got that from.
What's the correct figure you would say?
I would say between 25 and 30%. Let me tell you something, Mark. I am doing continuous construction on my new business place in Amelia's Ward. And do you know, I can't find proper persons to work. Do you know that? Do you know I need tilers? I can't find them. I need masons. I can't find them. And when you find them and they come, they don't last 2 days because you have to send them away. They can't work. And when they can work, they laze about and they sit about. Their entire work ethic leaves a lot to be desired. And you pay them well. You pay them more than well. And still, that is what you get. You ask anybody, most of the construction that is taking place in Linden, the private construction, people who are building private homes, they go outside of Linden for their labor. They bring people from the quarantine for their labor. They bring people from the East Coast. Why? Because you go by the Victory Valley front on a Sunday and you'll see hundreds of youths lazing about, lying about. Call them. Look, the other day, I wanted to clean up my place in Silver City. I had help to get persons to go and work. When eventually I found 3 or 4 of them, they worked for 2 hours and they stretch out their hand. Man, you gotta give me a raise because we hungry. We ain't fuel up. We ain't put fuel in the tank before we come to work. Oh, gosh. You got to get guts to deal with some of the people in terms of the labor. So you can't say on the one hand that there is a high unemployment rate, which I agree, there is a high unemployment rate, but there is an absence of positive work ethic.
Do you think, because a lot of people may say that, and especially a lot of young people, they're looking for better things to do than just to maybe become laborers and all these things, because when someone graduates from school or university or wherever, it's really unfair. And I'm not saying that labor job is any bad thing, but a lot of qualified people, lots of qualified people may not just want to opt to just go and build blocks or fetch water for somebody building a house and these sort of things. And any government, any proper government in place should provide meaningful employment, especially employment for those who are out of university and other institutions. Now, For 20 something years, 23 years, the PPP was in office. And that tongue was never developed. The bridge was never dealt with. As much as people asked for these things were not properly developed in that country. People were basically unemployed, large numbers. I'm not sure where you got it 25, 35% from, but I was told a few years ago it was up to 75% according to the IMF and the World Bank report. But go right ahead. Talk about how much blame should be given to the PPP for the running down economically of Linden.
The IMF and World Bank. The IMF and World Bank, if they said that, I don't know where they got those figures from. The specialists that they sent to Linden to do that analysis, perhaps they drank too much of bloody rum at the side of the road, because their figures definitely incorrect. Definitely incorrect. What was the other part of the question you asked?
The other part, I'm not going to go back to the figures, because I was going to ask you, what is your source of your figure, which is 25 to 30%?
Well, the source of my figures is while I used to sit on the while I was a councillor and member of parliament for Region 10, we did an analysis across the board in every single community. And that is what we found. But I want to make a point about this unemployment. Listen to me. How much employment do you think that the government can in itself create? The government creates employment through its budgetary allocations. It may budget $5 billion, $6 billion for Region 10. Of that, they budget for education, for health, for infrastructure, and for agriculture. Under those four heads, they may want to do construction, they may build a building, they may repair a fence, they may build a fence, they may dig a canal, they may repair a road, and they will employ people directly to do those things. But how many people you think that they can employ? And that is the limit of it. So the other employment has to come from investment. There has to be investment. Investment in macro projects, like the construction of the bloody Wisma Mackenzie Bridge, for example. That is going to create perhaps a few hundred jobs. The construction, the other investment has to be done by the private sector. And the private sector is what generates, while it generates investment, it generates growth. And it is in that growth that employment is generated. Now, the private sector is shying away from Linden. Let me tell you something, Mark. In the last social tumult, during the last social upheaval in Linden, and that was, I think, 2012, if I'm not wrong, I may stand corrected. That was in 2012. Two of my buildings that I constructed those buildings with the help of Texas Ohio Energy. Those buildings used to feed hundreds of persons every day. Adults, children. We used to hand out, we got handouts from Food for the Poor and from the Latter-day Saints Church. And we used to hand out those things to poor people by the hundreds every day, every single day. And do you know, during the whole issue in 2012 with the social upheaval, do you know the same people turned around, broke into the building, carried away all the things, and then set the buildings on fire? Same people, Mark, the same people burnt the buildings down. The buildings are still there in their burnt out state. I never tried to rehabilitate them because up to now, I am still suffering from a little bit of anger. But it is the 2012 social upheaval that caused the private sector to shy away from big investments in Linden, from big investments.
Let me get back to, sorry about that. Let me get back to one of the questions that I've asked you. I understand to a portion blame on the coalition for things that should have done, more things that should have happened and constructions and stuff done in Linden. I agree with you. But what sort of blame would you apportion to the PPPC for its 23 years of Linden? And the 2012 mayhem that you spoke about could have been handled differently. Apart from your building or buildings being burnt down, of course, my sympathy to you on that. But 3 lives were actually lost. Let us get your take on those 3 lives and the fact that the PPPC, in my opinion, and I'm sure most of my viewers would say, neglected Linden for 23 plus years. Go ahead.
Okay, I agree with you. I agree with you that Linden was neglected for 23 years, but then you have to add 5 years to that. That's 23 and 5, 28 years of neglect. 5
Oh,
years.
we've dealt with the 5 already. Let's deal with the 23. Go ahead.
How can I deal with the 23? Do you want me to give you details of the neglect?
Not necessarily details. Your opinion on what happened and what should have happened during those 23 years.
We are agreeing that there was neglect of Linden by the PPP for the 23 years. We are agreeing with that. But you see, within the context of that neglect, there was a lot of development that took place. That is what I'm telling you. A lot of development took place by private citizens, not by the government, not by the region, but by private citizens. And there is where development has to take place. So, to what extent, when you add up the 23 years and when you add up the budgetary allocations of those 23 years, I served 5 in Parliament. And I battled the PPP ferociously for proper budgetary allocations for Region 10. And after I left, other people went and continued the battle. You had Vanessa Kissoon, who did her fair share. Right now, we have Jermaine Figueroa, who's doing his fair share. There is always a battle with the PPP for allocations for Linden. But the allocations cannot only come from government for development. There must be investment. And investment has to take place within the context of a stable society, a stable community. In the absence of a stable community, investment will not take place. The private sector will not invest in an unstable community. So while you can justifiably accuse the PPP of 23 years of neglect, we have to stabilize Linden. We have to stabilize Region 10. The best part of Guyana is Region 10. The best region in Guyana is Region 10. The region with the most potential for development is Region 10. The region with the most available land for investment is Region 10. The region with the most resources, forestry resources, mineral resources, pure water resources, arable land, well, I won't say most arable land, but some arable land is Region 10. So the climate has to be created for positive inward investment. And that is a function of the politicians.
All right. For those of you who are now joining us, Mr. Philip Bynoe is here with us. No stranger to a lot of you, certainly no stranger to me as well. We got a couple more questions for Mr. Bynoe, including this upcoming Congress and so forth. Let me ask you this. You have been in Linden since 1972. You're a Lindener, so to speak. Born out in Skeldon, Corriverton, but you're a Lindener. You've been there since 1972. What do you think would be your legacy? What would you leave behind to say for the young generation to say that was done because of Philip Bynoe? Former member of parliament, businessman, etc.
Let me tell you what is my legacy on the ground. You see that road that has opened up West Watuka from the bridge straight down to the back that opened up the agricultural lands in West Watuka? That is Philip Bynoe's legacy. If I can tell you the history of that road, you will understand. We had $2 million budgeted, and I sent one man by the name of Gordon Calendar to cut a line to open up the lands to see what is there. And he came back and he said, Comrade MP, we got good land at the back there. I said, well, we're going to build a bloody road. And the chairman at the time was Lance Sherwood. Lance said, but Philip, you don't have the money. I said, don't worry, that we build the road. Barat going to start the road. And we started the road. Eventually, there was a PPP government outreach in Linden at the time. And I took them on that little line that was being cut. And I said to them, we're going to plant rice at the back here, but we want y'all help. Help me build this road. And we had a limit from that 2 million. We had a regional limit of 14 million. That is all we could spend in the region. And we spent it all. And when it was finished, we bust the budget and we started to shift money from other heads to do that road. So that's one of Philip Bynoe legacy. Another Philip Bynoe practical legacy is the community center at Wizrock. When I said to Barrett Jagdeo, the then Minister of Finance, that we need a place for the children of Wisma to go and play properly. And he said, well, what place you talking about? And we had a man who died, a man by the name of Anthony, an architect. He did a drawing and a vex with up to today, although he died. Guy did a little small chunky place. But anyway, Barrett Jagdeo agreed to fund it. And we bust the budget also, because he only put 7 million. But I went quietly and extend the place, put on a downstairs to it. And that is how the Wizrock Community Center was born. That is another Philip Bynoe legacy. And that Amerindian hostel near to the police station at Wisma, that is another Philip Bynoe legacy. But those are physical things on the ground. There are the intangibles are too many to mention. Let other people mention them. I won't mention.
All right, 30th. Thank you so much, sir. 30th minutes after 9 o'clock in beautiful Georgetown, Guyana. Might be different wherever else you are. Thank you so much for joining us. We have Mr. Philip Bynoe with us. I know we have two other guests coming up after. Former Member of Parliament, Ms. Vanessa Kissoon, and former Chairman of Region Number 10, Mr. Sharma Solomon. Let's get quickly, Mr. Bynoe, to the upcoming Congress of the People's National Congress reform. Your take on the Congress, please, and how you think things will play out.
Well, the elections for the central executive and the leadership of the PNC, in fact, are the most important aspects of Congress. While Congress is going to have their usual itinerary and have their usual discussions, it is the elections that is riveting the attention of the country and the world. There are three major contestants or leading contestants for the position of the leader of the party. And it is important because Guyana has two political giants, the PPP and the PNC. And whenever they are like two giant elephants, and whenever they fight, they trample the grass. And in this context, the people are the grass. The PNC has been weak. The elephant's knee was injured, so it couldn't stand up straight to fight the other elephant, which is the PPP. It was buckling, and it was buckling because it was divided. It was racked with division. And the division came about as a result of inflated egos. Everybody wanted to be a little leader. And so they carted off segments of the party into little factions. This body had the faction. The body had the faction. The other body had the other faction. And they were all factions. And the wily, smart politician, Barajagdio, was sitting back, A, laughing at the factions, and B, encouraging the factions. And on and on and on it went. And as the time went on, the factions became wider and wider and wider. This Congress is going to provide an opportunity for the factions to wield themselves back into that strong, powerful elephant. And the man to ride that elephant, the man to be the head of that elephant, is Aubrey Compton Norton. I am coming down on the side of Aubrey Norton. I am not saying that Mr. Harmon and Mr. Vanessa Charles are not leaders in their own right. They may be, but you were talking about democracy just now. Democracy in itself demands that only one person must emerge the winner. And Aubrey Compton Norton is going to emerge the winner. All of the signs portend that way. All. And Aubrey's qualifications may not be startling, may not be global, may not be a lot of things, but Aubrey Norton's qualifications, in fact, are the required qualifications for the PNC at this time in its existence. I'll tell you why. When Forbes Burnham was building the PNC, it was during the early 50s, middle 50s, and into the early 60s. Burnham visited almost every home in Guyana. And during those days, the struggle was not so much about economic development. The struggle was about and for political freedom and liberation from colonialism. So it was a different struggle. So a different type of politics was required. Bonham went house to house, spoke with every single member, potential member of his party. He had to wheel together different factions of leadership to forge the PNC out of that. And that is why the PNC was such a strong juggernaut of a party. That is why it could have been called the Vanguard Party. Aubrey Norton came up from the loins of that construction. And I say construction because that is how the PNC was built. It was constructed from the ground up. And Aubrey Norton came out of the foundations of that construction. So he knows where the rebars are placed. He knows where the steel in the columns and the foundation is placed. And so he knows where to go and how to do it. And he can wield together a strong group to surround himself with from the various 10 regions to rebuild the party groups brick by brick by brick. That is what it calls. That is what it calls for. And the persons like Joe Harmon and Richard Van Westgiles, while they are good leaders of the PNC, they need to throw their lot in with Aubrey to build a PNC. Aubrey knows how to do it. They need to lend their support to Aubrey. And talking about that, one point I want to make.
Sure. Yeah.
When I look at Aubrey Norton's emblem, it is a big, beautiful palm tree. When I look at Van Westgiles' emblem, it is a big, beautiful palm tree. When I look at Joe Harmon's emblem, it's a star. I don't know what that means. It is as if Harmon is saying, if I turn leader, I'm going to change the party symbol to a star. I don't know what you mean by the star.
Let me see before I go to your closing remarks, Mr. Bynoe. Let me see what is this star you're talking about here. And I just want folks to know that because we still have almost a month more, or a little under a month for the Congress to be held, Mr. Bynoe will be back with us to talk, maybe a couple of times as well. Let me see this star, Mr. Bynoe. There is that star for real. Whenever Mr. Harmon shows up, I'll ask him, I think I saw that star, Philip, but I'm glad you brought it to our attention. I'm going to ask him about that star because right now he's in hiding from me. He hasn't been on the show as yet, but I'll ask him about that star. Mr. Bynoe, so many other things I want to ask you, but time is of importance right now. We're running out of time because we do have two other guests. I want to bring you back on again. I'm not going to ask you about where you were whilst I was where I was for 5. I'm not going to ask you that tonight, right? But what I want to do, sir.
Margaret going to call for a special program.
I know. It will. That's why I don't want to touch on that tonight, but I will bring you back on. I promise that. Briefly, sir, your closing remarks. On basically touching on the future, the bright future of Guyana. We have oil now. In my opinion, the ordinary folks not seeing that money at all. But your closing remarks, sir.
As we talk about the PNC's Congress, we need to be mindful of the bigger picture, which is Guyana, and what is happening in Guyana. There is a looming there is a looming master shortage in Guyana that is going to be more acute going into December, and that shortage is affecting the entire world. The government and its economic managers, they need to address the issue of the economy of Guyana and the relationship of oil and what's happening with this oil money, and why the 9-point-something billion US dollars from Exxon expenses were not audited. The government needs to seriously address those issues. And in my final remarks, I wish to congratulate Kashif and Shanghai and whosoever else with the contract that they got to build a school in Amelia's Ward, Linden. It shows that, and let me be raw rinky, it shows that black people can get big contracts too. And the fact that they have Charles Series, who's my friend from Corriverton, who is there as their engineer and consultant. I know Charlie, and I know that if Charlie is there with those fellas, that school is going to be the best school constructed in Linden. And I ain't talking with water in my mouth. So I wish to congratulate those youngsters for getting those contracts. And I wish to call on many, many other Lindeners, people with skills, technicians, draftsmen, builders, welders. Put yourself into companies and bid for contracts. Bid for contracts. And that is one of the ways, Mark, we're going to diminish the unemployment in Linden. We need to encourage our people to do that. And rather than beating up and bashing Kashif and Shanghai for getting that contract, we need to encourage others to form companies so that they can get contracts as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Philip Bynoe. Philip is number one. I'm number two. On the next occasion you come on the show, we have lots more to talk about. But I thank you so much for your time. Again, belated birthday greetings to you. And also, you're looking strong. Continue.
Mark, anytime, all you have to do is give me a call, and I will willingly come on your program.
Thank you so much, Philip. Appreciate it.
Okay. Good evening to you, and good evening to your listeners.
Thank you, sir. It's actually cola champagne, mind you. I need it. Christine Dion Jones, all of you guys, every one of you. Philip Bynoe was my guest. I have to be very nice to my guest because this is a professional show. I'm watching you guys. You guys are not easy, you know. You guys are not easy. Here's why I say you guys are not easy. All along, 95% of you guys, oh, get this man off. Oh, get this man off. Oh, all sorts of things. Oh, this, you know, it's okay. Get him off, right? But as soon as he said, for some of you there, he said that his choice is Aubrey. His choice is Aubrey. I looked at some of your comments. You were like, yes, now we talking sense. Now we talking sense. And soon as he finished with that and got back into his closing remarks, y'all vex again. Y'all are something else, man. Y'all are something else. We'll take a quick break. I'll put on some more makeup and I'll get back. I know a lot of you guys wanted to ask about the 5 years that he ran, where he went, and all these things. I will touch on that on some other occasions, but I couldn't get some other occasions, sorry. Sherwin Green, you're laughing, huh? You guys, you Aubrey Norton supporters are something else, man. But I love you all. It's democracy. It is your choice to support whomever you want to support. That is all. It is your choice. Whoever it is that you're supporting, it is your choice. But what is not your choice is to cuss out other people who are exercising that very democratic right. It's unacceptable. Absolutely. And sensible people do not do that. We'll take a quick break. And I want you guys to listen to this whilst we get our guest, Mr. Sharma Solomon and Miss Vanessa Kissoon. We'll be right back.
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief? Number one, the ordinary thief steals your money, your bag, your watch, and your jewelry, isn't it? But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. Number two, the hilarious part is that the ordinary thief will choose whom to rob. But you are the one who choose the political thief to rob you. Because we choose them. We vote them. We blindly say we are not blind. Who is deceiving who? The ridiculous part of the whole issue is that we will fight to defend and protect our belongings from the ordinary thief. Is it not? But we fight each other to defend and protect the political thief. Is that not what we do? Thugs will be fighting themselves to protect those that are stealing our career, stealing our joy, stealing our health, stealing our success. What a shame. What a travesty. It calls for us to think and think deep. The stage we are in as a country is not a stage where you become an...
Sorry about that. Had to cut that. Sounds as though he's talking about Guyana, right? We've got to think and think deep. So true. Let's get to our guest. I noticed Ms. All right. Sorry about that. We had some quick problems there, but our technician, thank you so much. So we have our guest here this evening. Sorry about that, lady and gentlemen. So happy to see you both. So glad that you guys have stayed up with us to be on right here on Straight Up. Let me first begin by complimenting Miss Vanessa Kissoon and her head tie, looking quite beautiful as always. And yes, yeah. Mr. Solomon, good evening to you as well.
Good evening, Mark. Good evening, Ms. Kissoon, and good evening, as usual, to your audience, your guest. Belated birthday greetings to Philip Bynoe.
Oh, yes. Philip Bynoe. Philip, I forgot to ask him his middle name, but Philip Bynoe. Let me make sure that some folks said that there was no sound earlier. Are you guys hearing me loud and clear now? Somebody's asking to pump up the volume. Are you getting us loud and clear? All right, I'm assuming that you are hearing us loud and clear. Let's get straight to, let's begin with Miss Vanessa Kissoon. Miss Kissoon, again, welcome. And just 1 second, yes, they are hearing us loud and clear. Welcome again to Straight Up. No stranger you are to 107.1 FM. And let me take the time to congratulate you on being reinstated, so to speak, back into the PNCR officially. You have said on numerous occasions that you have never left the party. How are you feeling this evening that that matter has now been put to rest and you are officially back in the folds of the PNCR?
Okay, thank you very much, Mark, and good night to yourself and Mr. Solomon, and also to your listening and viewing audience. Let me say, first of all, Almighty God is great. And we know that anything that happens for us is because and it is also by God's grace. And so tonight I must let you know that I'm humble at the fact that I have been reinstated. And like you mentioned earlier, Mark, I've never left the PNCR, but I am so happy now that this matter is, as my granny would have said, water under the bridge. And so we can now move on, and we can now, I'm able to participate as we move forward in rebuilding and reuniting the People's National Congress reform.
And
And
surely that's
I
sure. Go
want to
ahead.
also say thank you very much. I know that you've been advocating on our both of our behalves, myself and Mr. Solomon. And I really want to thank you because, Mark, sometimes I know that persons will say we should not wash your dirty linen in public. And I have never done that. But the minute that you would have brought these matters out publicly and started, I use the term banging at it, some attention was given. And I must say thank you very much for what you have, your input in all of this and in seeing justice being served.
This, and you guys are welcome. And this could not have happened without, of course, the participation of those thousands of people who are listening and watching this program right now, because you guys have had thousands of people, not just me. This is just a vehicle that was used for that, right? But the thousands of people were also championing your cause, Mr. Solomon's cause as well. And there's a reason why people have done that. It is because you guys are true community leaders. You guys are true leaders. You have served once as, I believe, on 2 occasions or 1 stint as member of parliament.
2 times, 2.
2 times, yeah. Mr. Sharma Solomon, former chairman of Region Number 10. And so you guys have practically put your lives on the line for the people of Region 10 and by extension, the country. And you guys deserve to be saluted. You guys deserve to be respected. And I'll say this. Not all times we see eye to eye on issues. But at the end of the day, one must give Jack or Jill his or her jacket. And you guys deserve to be saluted. And let me take this time on behalf of all the people who are watching this program here to say, for all the work and the advocacy they have done, to ensure that you're reinstated, you are welcome, Ms. Vanessa Kissoon. Now let's go to Mr. Sharma Solomon.
Much appreciated.
Welcome. How are you feeling now, Mr. Solomon, that you are officially back in the party, officially?
God is great, Mark, and that should not be overlooked. And I know you said official, you and I would collide on this official term, but due process never fails once you believe and you have faith. So justice indeed came to us in terms of our reinstatement or acceptance and recognition of membership. But at the end of the day, I think the value of the party is what is most important, that have always remained with us. We have not, I speak more so for myself, and I've already welcomed Ms. Kissoon back. I think an injustice was there indeed. But we are not new to representation of people's interests. We are not, as some people may say, neophytes in recognizing our role and duty. So I am most grateful for the opportunity provided by this party over the past 2 decades or more that I've been around the party, to demonstrate that sort of ability to show the sort of leadership that the people of Linden and Region 10 not only deserve, but we believe we were able to deliver, and more indeed could be done. But in all of that, Mark, your participation, the participation of your audience and the wider membership and the wider Guyanese society is without, you cannot unrecognize that. I know even the last 2 programs we talk about how simple the matter of reinstatement for Ms. Kissoon could have been. And that is the exact pattern that followed. A simple motion, somebody second that, and it's carried by CEC. So those steps that we recognize now as commendable, we should not overlook the pressure that you also and your audience and many on the wider society brought to ensure that such a simple procedure could have been done. And we would have gone past who was official and not official. But like I said, it never took from us our desire to stay committed to our party and ensure that we work in the interests of our people. So once again, Mark, God is great, and we are more than thankful for the opportunity to continue to serve at any level that the party provides for us to do so.
You know, I'm seeing a lot of people are congratulating you guys, and that is from the bottom of their heart, because they really and truly welcome you guys back into the folds of the PNCR, a party of which you guys belong to. And so they're all excited, they're all happy, they see better days ahead with you two guys back into the folds of the party. The other thing that I want to let us touch on, because we still have at least another 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so more with you guys here this evening. I want to touch on this upcoming Congress. Before we get into any form of endorsement that you guys have made, I want to ask, let's go back to Ms. Kissoon. How, in terms of viewing the process, are you comfortable with what you're seeing and what you're hearing? And at the end of this entire process, would you be satisfied that it has been transparent and democratic?
Well, Mark, let me say that you know that every time myself and Mr. Solomon come on your programs, we always talk about seeing the process work, the structures work, which involves the party members from groups coming up. Let me be honest, so far we have been hearing of some all sorts of things that are happening that they're raising questions in my mind, and the process is not completed, and so we're still watching to see what will play out. I know the accreditation committee is still working, and I would want to give the accreditation committee the opportunity to do their work and do their pronouncements. But in the meantime, I must say that I'm disappointed with certain behaviors that we're hearing about, of persons, verbally abusing members and each other because of choices that persons would have made. And the fact that we all have choices, and this is a democratic process, and people must be allowed to choose, where they want to go or who they want to, whether endorse or back or, put their thing behind. So the members of the People's National Congress reform, I want to say to us, this is the time, because this is a very serious Congress. This is a very important Congress. And I want to say to us that we need to exercise our rights. And meaning our rights, I mean that we all have choices, and we should not allow anyone to bully us. We should not allow anyone to call us and to tell us what to do and what not to do. We should give each candidate a fair hearing, a fair chance. The candidates are going around visiting, and once we do this, Mark, I believe that the process will be will be a good process. The process will be fair if we allow persons to listen and to all three candidates and those persons to make their informed choices. And so we will have. But when you have persons being called and told what to do or whose meeting to go to or not, then you will have eyebrows will be raised, and minds will wonder of whether the process will be fair or not.
All right, Ms. Vanessa Kissoon there, always straightforward with what she has to say. No beating around the bush. The democratic process must allow to take its course, and people should be entitled, or people are entitled to endorse or to support or to be on whomever team they want to be in. This is not a case of bullying. This is not a case of cursing and insulting people. Because when you look at these two individuals, they have done far more than a lot of persons in terms of their commitment and their dedication to the country. They remain right there also in that beautiful mining town of Linden, and by extension, Guyana. I'm seeing that somebody's saying that they do need change indeed, and we can agree with that. Mr. Sharma Solomon, what is your take on the process that you're seeing thus far? We know that the PNCR is demonstrating this sort of democratic values that we are not seeing in other political parties, especially the PPP. That's obviously absent. But what is not acceptable is individuals cursing people because of their choice within the party to choose who they think might be a better leader than the other. What is your take on the process thus far, sir?
Well, Mark, the first point you raise, I think, is most critical to the beginning of this conversation of what we see as a highlight and a hallmark of what the PNC represents as one of the most transparent in its internal organs to look for leadership. There is no such party that could be recognized with that sort of ability to find within its members that every single member, and this is why we carry the title the Vanguard Party, that every single member, from member you can become to leader. There is no position that is God-given. Persons are entitled to have the opportunity to participate in the process, in the organs provided, and that could give the person who is a member an opportunity to run for leader. So very important is that fact that you see the opportunity for people to be able to make their own decisions, to have a choice, to have those same processes, those structures, give them the opportunity for a choice, which we go to groups. Those structures are represented at every level, from the individual member to the groups, to the communities within which those groups exist, to the districts and region. So again, you ask about the process. We talk first about the structures that allow for those processes to work. And when you have members at the group level that can meet, and this people may say is the form of it, but do we have the substance of it? And I heard such one person ask the question. But the form represents first and foremost the area within which party members are allowed to participate, are allowed to be involved, and allowed to be engaged. And I think when you ask about the democracy earlier, it is the sort of show of democracy that promotes a consultative, inclusionary, and participatory start of ingredients to allow that form to be allowed to work. So people at the group level must, not should, but must be given an opportunity where they are allowed to participate. And now we come to the substance of ensuring that form is in itself something to make the process of value. So the substance is people in groups. If you have a group, you know the rules. You have 10 members, you have a delegate. You know the rules with the NCW and the YSM, and those provide for us delegates. Now, it is persons who we might find difficulty with based on choices that they choose to make. This is what healthy democracy promotes. It is at that level of the groups. You should find those conversations and discussions that make their way to the delegates that go to the point of Congress to identify the leader, and not just the leader, but the leadership, of which you have beyond the leader, chairman, vice chairman, treasurer, and executive members. Now, it is important, Mark, and I come back to that fundamental point. You asked about the process, I give you the form. The substance starts from those individual members and the groups. And I think the focus, once allowed for those groups and members to be involved, we will have a process that is manned, it is overlooked, and people who are at the level of the membership can be satisfied. that they were allowed to participate in ensuring that the farm works for them. So I am comfortable to the point where the form of the party's process is supported by the substance of the membership's participation in this process. So every member should be able to make their democratic choice and should be allowed to participate even at the level of groups. People should not be disallowing members or taken to the point of disrespecting members because they make a decision. That sort of behavior, Mark, is not helpful to the party as we move forward as comrades. And that sort of behavior, Mark, will take away from the processes that you spoke about and how comfortable people should be with it.
Exactly. We should keep an eye on what democracy is and that democratic process. Whilst we understand that not everyone believes in that, they have some folks who believe that, hey, shut up. There should be no other choice. People should not be entitled to make a choice. People should just go with who others feel that they want them to go. And sometimes the bullying tactics has no way in a democratic system at all. Now let's get back to Ms. Vanessa Kissoon. I saw Egerton David made mention about in politics, and which is correct. People make phone calls and try to say to others, those who are part of the political team or that campaign process, nothing is wrong with that. It is true, because it happens even here in the US, where candidates do call up maybe Reverend Sharpton, they call up maybe Reverend Jesse Jackson and other key players seeking their endorsement or seeking their support from those individuals. Getting back to what Egerton David mentioned about that aspect of the campaign, Ms. Kissoon, have you been reached out to by the candidates?
Let me say, first of all, I was reached out by one candidate. And in fact, Mark, as you and I know, you and I would have spoken, we talk all the time. And I did mention to you that I really was not interested in going back into the party. I was not interested in participating, even as the Congress came about. Persons call me to ask me, what's happening. And I advised that. And I want people to understand, I'm being honest here tonight. I had reached that point, Mark, where for me, that was it. We all know what took place last year at Pleasant. And so for me, that was the last straw. And I said, this is it for me. I want nothing to do with the party and with Congress or anything. I'm just going to take my time and, whenever that time come, I would have been involved again. However, I want to say that when I was on that breaking point, I got a phone call because of the upcoming Congress. And I was asked to come on board. And this gentleman, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, he called me and he asked me to meet with him. And I did exactly that, Mark. And it happened at a time when, as I was telling some persons for the past couple of weeks, it happened at a time when, when you're boxing or you're in a fight and you want to throwing that white towel. I dropped my towel actually. And I want to say that Dr. Richard Van West Charles caught my towel before it hit the ground. And he said to me, he said, listen, come on board. Give me a chance. Let us work this out. Give me a chance. I will ensure, that the party is reunited. And it was just not a mouth up situation, Mark. It was an actual reaching out and touching and, embracing and that openness and allowing that me to participate and hear my views. He didn't shun me or anything like that. And so he called. He didn't only call me via phone call. He met with me in person and we had discussions. And so, I felt really good about that. And I thought that, what? This is an individual who means business. this is an individual who wants to see this party move forward. And so from there, we continued talking and meeting. A few weeks ago, I think it's about 2 weeks ago, I remember getting a call from Mr. Comrade Joseph Harmon. And, we had a brief discussion because I was in public transportation and he had promised that we would have spoken again, but I did not get back a call from him.
All right, so well said. Let's get back to that incident at Plaisance during the 2020 elections campaign when you were asked to leave in an embarrassing manner. You were asked to leave. Can you say, how did you feel at that point in time, knowing that you are from Plaisance, your roots are from Plaisance, you were told that you were slated to speak, only to be told that you have to get off in the middle of the campaign. How did you feel at that set time?
Mark, I am human being. I am a woman and I have emotions. And like any other person, I felt at that time I was hurt because and let me be, like I said, they say we should not wash our dirty linen in public, but sometimes we need to clear the air. And I'm going to clear the air tonight, Mark, because when I was called and asked to speak at Plaisance, I particularly asked the question if I would have been allowed to, because, and may God rest his soul, the late Vice Chairman of Region Number 10, Comrade Douglas Gittins. I remember being called by Comrade Gittins in Linden, and I was asked to speak, and I was asked if I'm willing to participate. I said I never left. I'm always willing to participate. And so I was asked to speak in Linden. Flyers were made. My name was put out there. However, the first meeting that I was supposed to speak at, when I asked Comrade Gittins about the plans and so on, he asked me if I heard anything. I said, what are you talking about? And he said to me that they got a call from Central to say that I should not speak at any meetings. And I said, actually, with tears in my eyes, I looked at him. I said, you guys gonna pay dear for this. And I remember him saying, Miss Kissoon, I really am sorry about this. So when I got the call from Comrade Lewis to speak in Plaisance, I said to him, I asked him, I said, are you sure that I will be allowed to speak? And I told him what happened, right? And so he made a few phone calls and he called me back. And he said he was told that whatever Plaisance or whoever Plaisance decides will speak, those persons will speak. And so, Ms. Kissoon, you're welcome to speak. Now, Mark, I got there early. I was there. I greeted people. I met persons. I remember Comrade Sean Austin, Comrade Rodwell, they said everything is okay. We were sitting there. The then regional chairman, Ms. Genevieve Allen, bring her remarks and her greetings. And Comrade Lewis, who was the first speaker, they had another young lady, the second speaker, and I was supposed to be the third.
When you say, not to cut you, when you say Comrade Lewis, you mean Lincoln Lewis, right?
Oh, no, not Uncle Lincoln Lewis, Rodwell Lewis. Yes. Okay. So, and I was there waiting to speak. Now, while we were off stage, nothing was said to me. We were shortly asked to go and sit on the stage, myself and the other young lady. And shortly after I got on stage, I saw a little commotion at the side with the chairperson and Basil and Aubrey Norton and them. And when he turned and I saw his face, I knew something was wrong. And then Mr. Williams asked me to speak to me for a minute, and I came down. And he said to me, he said, Ms. Kissoon, I cannot allow you to speak at our meeting. And I looked at him and I said, Comrade, this is Plaisance. This is my home. This is my village. And this is what you all are doing to me. Now, I want to say this, Mark. At that time, you had present there, because I remember Comrade Joseph Harmon mentioning at a meeting in Linden that he was there when I was taken off the stage. And he was the campaign overall manager. Basil Williams was the manager for East Coast. And I know that Rodwell Lewis and Aubrey Norton, they were all in pleasant preparations for, campaigns and all of that. So for those gentlemen to sit there and allow that to happen and said nothing and just allow it, Mark, that thing really moved me because my mom was there. My sister and her family came from Crane. My nephew, who would have been at that time a first-time voter, they all came. In fact, his father was so upset that he said they were not going to vote. And I said to them, listen, this is bigger than Miss Kissoon. The country is always bigger than Miss Kissoon. And so, we have to, don't allow this to break us, but we must go and cast our vote. And I want to assure us that we all did. We all did. But you know what's amazing? My mother lives right at Pleasance on the line top, where people pass here every day, Mark. And not once did anyone stopping here to say sorry or to tell my mom, that is a woman, I'm her daughter. I would have felt, if it was my daughter, I would have felt bad for my child. Never once stopped to say, well, Miss Kissoon, we're really sorry about what took place the other day at Pleasance out there, and we're going to fix this. And not once to date did I receive a phone call from anyone except Comrade Rodwell Lewis, who would have placed an apology publicly also, and he did call me. And I remember Miss Moore from Better Hope, who met me, and the others, Mark, I'm talking about those who held the position of whether campaign manager, working with people, whatever position they held, because we know they held position. Not once to date have they ever called to say, Miss Kissoon, we're sorry of what took place, and this will not happen. We will fix this matter. We will fix your matter. So, Mark, I don't understand all the fancy things that are going on now. Whatever is happening now is just happening for the optics. And this is politics, as you said. And we understand politics and we understand the optics because this is election and this is Congress. And so I'm saying tonight, Mark, the only person that reached out to me is Dr. Richard Van West Charles. And as far as I'm concerned, this man means business. He wants to move this party forward. He wants to have inclusionary. He wants people to participate. And he listens. He asks questions. He listens to what you have to say. And it's not a case where, his people are calling people because you endorse somebody, people abusing you out and think you're being promised. From very upfront, I said to Comrade Van West Charles, I don't even want to be on the executive body of the People's National Congress reform. I don't. My place is to ensure that groups are built back, that the groups function the way we know it functioned when we were there. Mr. Solomon can attest to that. The groups in Linden and Region 10 can attest to that, where meetings were held, where we went and met with groups constantly. We used the telephones. We engaged groups. The groups participated, and that is what will bring back the People's National Congress reform. When we allow the process and the structures to work, when we allow the groups, the small man, the ordinary man, the grassroots members to be a part of the process and not to be feared and not to be insulted and not to be abused out because they made a democratic right and choice.
Well
Thank
said.
you.
Well said. Well said. Democratic choice. Before we get to Mr. Sharma Solomon, we want to hear from him as well. Well said, Ms. Kissoon. Do you think if all of the candidates had extended an invitation to you to say, look, whether it's Mr. Aubrey Norton, I still can't find him, Harmon, Joseph Frederick Harmon, or in the case of Dr. Van West Charles, all of them decide to say, Ms. Vanessa Kissoon, I'm contesting for the leadership of the PNCR. I'd like to have half hour of your time to discuss my policies and to see how we can work together. Do you believe if you have received such invitation from the other candidates there is a possibility that maybe your endorsement would have been different?
Mark, like I'm gonna say this again. Persons had umpteen opportunities to call me and didn't call. And so to call me, as you're putting it over, Mark, at a time when you're running or you seem to want to have a position that whether it's leader, chairmanship, whichever position, let's say they would have wanted. I am saying to you, Mark, we cannot wait at these times only to reach out to people when you would have had the opportunity umpteen times before to reach out and let's work things out and mend our whether it's our differences or even heal our wounds. So to say to me tonight, if persons would have reached out, if the endorsements would have been different, I want to say to you, Mark, that you and I know, and I keep saying this, there are certain things I will not say in the public domain because I will not bring the party's business to fore. All right? And like I said before, I had given up. I had given up on well, when I say given up, I thought to myself I would have just taken a step back and just allow, things to go. And whenever I had felt that time. And so for persons to believe that only at a time when they think they need you, that they should call, it would not have also been. Because let me say this. I remember Mr. Harmon and Miss Ali was in Linden, and there was a meeting at Lyshus. And I did attend that meeting, Mark. And I said a few things because I have not attended a meeting in a long time. And then also, Mark, I said to you before on a previous program, there are persons who, and I can't say to you when last we would have even broken a word. So, Mark,
When you
don't
say
know.
person, because we're talking about Mr. Harmon and Mr. Norton? Or
Yes, I said to you, yes, I said to you for a very long time, Mr. Norton and I have not spoken to date, to date, to date. So, I don't know if it would have been different, but I want to say to you that I believe, though, that this is a time where we need to put all things behind us and we need to go with a united front. Because let me say this, the PPP is not afraid of a one man, Mark. Because if the PPP was afraid of a one man, then the other day maybe this whole country would have been different by today. The PPP is afraid of a united People's National Congress reform, a united front. So we need to put aside, as I know you like to say, let bygones be bygones. I think that you like to say that. Let
well,
bygones.
not only do I say that, I've demonstrated that. Look who was on the show
Right.
earlier. Philip Bynoe, who ran away and left me. I did nothing wrong. I don't know what he did, but I was left in the sauce for 5 years in solitary confinement. So I know what let bygone be bygone is. But continue.
Exactly. And so I want to say that after this Congress, that we need to move forward with a united front. And like you did, maybe a lot of us need to come out and say, we forgive each other and let us move on and let us fist, because we cannot really hug in this COVID. We have to maintain our social distance. Let us give a social distance high five and let us build the People's National Congress reform and let us save our future, those that will be our children and our children's children. It's time we move on, Mark. It's time we put aside pettiness and it's time we rebuild and reunite the People's National Congress reform.
Well said, Member of Parliament, Miss Vanessa Kissoon. Well said. Let's go over to Mr. Sharma Solomon in terms of leading up to this Congress. And we haven't gotten to your endorsement as yet. But were you called? Were they talks between yourself and other candidates for you to possibly join their team and support them?
Mark, no. I've received calls, and I'll say the first call I got was from Dr. Richard Van West Charles. I had a call a couple of weeks ago from Mr. Joseph Armon, and I have been speaking to many others, but with regards to the leadership, I have only been engaging I've had engagements with two such individuals, Mr. Harmon a couple of weeks ago, and a few months ago, Dr. Van West Charles, who saw and recognized not only what was happening with regards to our matters not coming to the conclusion it should have, but also recognizing where talent and where people's ability to bring to this party the sort of building materials that can take it forward. I would not just want us to pay keen attention to what was said just now by Ms. Kissoon. It is important for us to appreciate the treatment that we indulge in with each other, because we were there. We, in fact, had an entire busload that went down from Linden to lend solidarity to that matter. And the shame and embarrassment, and for all those who were there and perpetrated that, the shame and embarrassment wasn't only for her, it was for the people of Linden that believed in that campaign. As Ms. Kissoon mentioned, in 2020, we worked with that campaign. We had projects that we were participating actively, including myself speaking at several meetings on that campaign. So that incident, though people may take lightly, it is very important for people to recognize that. I know you've asked about endorsement and who reached out. I think the big man in the room at the moment to ensure that we don't have this sort of behavior and is prepared to welcome ideas, reach out and extend to ensure people are involved, and is unafraid of people who may differ with their view, is Dr. Richard Van West Charles. Because that incident should not have occurred in light of all those who attended. And to date, Ms. Kissoon is saying to you, of persons who would like and desirous of leadership have not even extended the courtesy to engage her on any other matter, but to just engage her. I think it is unbecoming of where we want this party to be, and the big people in this party should step in, as we are now respecting Dr. Richard Van West Charles' approach to come in as a candidate and demonstrate the ability to bring this party together. This is where we need to be. We don't need to be in a divisive, petty politics, the politics of destruction, the politics of exclusion. That politics, Mark, have gotten us nowhere. In fact, we have regressed. In fact, for those who believe it is worthy of even the sort of attention in itself, recognize that people will see past that, because the big people in the room, to ensure that we manage the affairs of this party well, to ensure that we give the sort of respectability to this party, so that these sort of petty incidents will not occur and should not have occurred. So I don't want to take lightly that fact. And then you ask the question about where we can find that sort of leadership. I mentioned just now Dr. Richard Van West Charles. But it is not because persons reached out to us first, last, or whenever. It is because of the quality. It is because of what the individual stands for. It is the opportunity to engage at the level of the grassroots and at every level throughout the party, because we need to build this party at every single level. No man, no woman, no child who wants to participate in this party must or should be left behind. Equal space must be given. And even as we campaign, myself, and I have spoken to a few people, it is most disheartening that people, comrades, are calling other comrades to say, do not lend listening attention or pay attention to what is being said. What sort of party can we build by denying membership at the level of the grassroots to actively participate? This sort of scheming and trickery in politics will get us nowhere. In fact, it will turn comrades away. And I'm saying to comrades tonight that we have a bigger picture ahead of us. And if we go in as a weakened, divided party, we are missing that. And we'll lose the war. As we've already seen, the party is weakened. So when you find this sort of behavior, when you find people are calling people 24 hours to a meeting, it demonstrates they have no value and respect for our members. They don't hold that dear principle of what leadership represents. And it represents just that. Giving others an opportunity, especially in this democratic society. And I spoke just now of the form of the PNC, but the substance comes from us, the membership, that we are treated right, that every single candidate, and this is not just leadership, and we'll come to the point of leader, this is also as part of why do we see others who should have taken that sort of approach in terms of ensuring all are involved. It is because we want to ensure this party is so well put together at the level of the grassroots, at the level of the groups, at the level of the individuals, so that when they are empowered, we are a powerful force. But when people can believe as though only a certain people should be entitled, one, to be able to speak, two, determine who to listen, then we are no good than the PPP, if that is the sort of trickery and divisive politics we choose to participate in. That behavior, Mark, as I said, will get us nowhere. So one of the things that also speaks to the volume of what Dr. Charles represents, Van West Charles represents, is that the decision to go with no lists, the decision to ensure that every single batsman that step up got to put on his pad, pick up his bat and prove that he can bat. Go to the members and convince them why you should be chairman. Go to the members and convince them why you should be vice chairman. Don't ride on people's coattails, because people have put many persons in it that are done lists, and I can carry you away. What you have done, you have deceived those who you're putting on lists, because I've seen 3, 4, or 5 lists. And outside of that deception, you are now telling members that when you lock them into a list, their decisions and desires and choice to move beyond that list becomes limited. I appreciate that in Dr. Richard Van West Charles, that every member now have an opportunity to not only become a candidate once you qualify as a delegate, but you now have an opportunity to go out and demonstrate your ideas, show your vision. It says to the membership, and this is why Dr. Charles' quality is beyond, because when you can take that approach, you're saying you're a good manager. You're able to bring people together on the basis of the membership making that decision and work with them. I am not preempting. I am not giving you a ready-made structure. You, the members, may see quality in someone to be the chairman, vice chairman, treasurer, or any of the executive member. And I trust you, the members, that when you make that decision and you give me that team, I am good enough a manager to bring them together for the good of this party. And I think that is a very important value that Dr. Richard Van West Charles was prepared to listen and to encourage those ideas. And that is the sort of individual that I want to be associated with as it relates to putting this party first and building this party back because of that sort of managerial and administrative desire. Those are very good qualities, Mark. So you ask, I know it is a simple question, and perhaps we could provide simple answers. Not easy, but simple answers. The big man in the room would have not allowed what happened to Ms. Kissoon to happen, because we needed mature people at the time to ensure that that was avoided and do not, as it would have persisted for 7 years. You're away from that. And people cannot to date even reach out to contact or to engage you in any meaningful way. So at least my decision And I'm asking the membership to make the decision quite easy. You have to see those who are prepared to give you an opportunity. Let me give you this, Mark. We are at this point for a Congress now because of the members. We knew the value of the members when we were all over the country asking them to move a no confidence motion. We saw the pivotal reason why they should be involved. Now, how can you be so disrespectful? You can be so disingenuous to your members that if someone wants to come and speak with them, you are denying them, you are undercutting them, you are trying to make whatever approach they want to make to members, to listen, to share ideas, to see the vision and value of every candidate. You are denying the members that. That is a dangerous position to take our party in. And I believe based on those considerations, members will see for themselves. This is enough time for members who want to be a part of the process to listen. And when you listen, you will hear different views. And you, the members, will make the decision that you believe is in the best interest of this party. And that is where we want you to focus on. Not in people trying to shepherd you in directions and then manipulate the conditions on the ground so that you don't hear and take away your right to listen so that you can learn.
All right, Mr. Sharma Solomon there expressing himself and giving his views as to why Mr. or Dr. Richard Van West Charles is the guy for the job. We will hopefully have Mr. Aubrey Norton and his group to talk about why he, Aubrey Norton, is the man for the job. We are so far still waiting to have Mr. Harmon to come here to sell his plan and his vision for the party. He has been missing in action for a real interview right here on 107.1 FM. That invitation is still extended to Mr. Joseph Frederick Harmon. The people want to hear from you on this platform. I mean, he can go on other platform, but the people want to hear about his plans right here as well. So, Mr. Harmon, if you're watching, if you're listening, give me a call. Don't shy away from this program. It's a democratic process. People want to hear from all of you, including Aubrey Norton. And having said that, based on what I was told, that 7 persons have been nominated for the leadership of the party, including you, Sharma Solomon. I'm not sure if you got that news as yet.
Mark, you know, and I missed that point. Very important point you raised. You heard that. This is the value of our party. This is the substance that we must now add to the form of our party. The form of our party carries an accreditation committee. We cannot preempt that committee. It was never even about numbers that you say 7 persons and the amount of people and groups who've nominated. You've made the point. Once your name on the ballot, that's what this process is about. And until confirmed by the accreditation committee, makes the ballot authentic. That is the process by which we should follow. We must not preempt. We must not put out there numbers and figures without allowing the process to work. We must not even put ourselves out there. So even before I say I thank person for that, that may have been groups who would have put forward their intentions. You are saying something to me unofficial. And until it comes from that official source, until we give the process a chance to work and ensure that the accreditation committee puts out the information properly and official, only Denmark can I say, like you just said to me, I would take any congratulations and respond to those positions. But the process must be allowed to work. We have an accreditation committee. Groups have made their submissions on candidates. And not until... So let me give you an example, Mark. Now, 10 groups, 100 groups we have. And then 15 or 20 of them not in good standing. And the accreditation committee figures that out and disqualifies even the candidates they have submitted. I gone out there because group number 15 or group number 10 voted for me as leader, but the group doesn't have the conditions satisfied to the accreditation committee in the process and they're disqualified. How do I now go to my supporters and say that I'm not on the list? Those premature positions, Mark, are not helpful to the process. In fact, they're more damaging to the process when we don't give it a chance to work. So you ask if I'm there, that is a process that will be official and confirmed. I know you always have good sources, but I trust to see the accreditation committee fulfill its work and we can move from that point on.
All right, well said. 49 minutes after 10 o'clock in beautiful Guyana. Might be different wherever else you are, but let's get back to Miss Vanessa Kissoon, a fighter who never gave up, someone who believes in the people, someone who has made so many sacrifices for the people of Region 10 and by extension of Guyana. Let me ask you why you believe Richard Van Charles is the man for the job of leader of the PNCR, sorry, at this moment. Why?
Okay, Mark. Like I said before, and I've heard a lot of persons say the same thing. At first, I knew of Van Charles, Dr. Richard Van Charles. I've never met him in person. But after we would have met and he spoke to me and I've listened to him, we went to meetings. I've listened to the way that he's speaking to the members. And when I listened to the experience that this gentleman has in organizing, not only here in Guyana, but across this world. And I listened to the amount of countries that he had to work with. And he had to build teams, whether it was Jamaica and other places. He had to build teams, I think, even within the Latin America. And people who he never knew from different countries, and he was in charge, and he had to bring them together and work with them and build those teams. When I look at how he transformed GWI, and I know a lot of us appreciate the work that he did for that time that he was there at GWI. We're all now saying how our water quality is not the same like when Dr. Charles was there. His organizing skills and his ability to bring people together and to work with people, I feel and I believe deep down in my heart, that is the type of leader we need at the helm of the People's National Congress reform to rebuild, to re-energize, to revitalize, and most importantly, Mark, to reunite the party so that we can move forward and so that we can go out there together and take down the enemy, the People Progressive Party, Civic. There's the real enemy. And this is the man that will bring us together because he has done it before and he can do it again. And once he's given that opportunity, I know he will do it, Mark. And I admire his humbleness and the way he speaks to people. You know, I listen to him at meetings, Mark. And you know what he will tell comrades? Though other persons are calling members to tell them do not attend the meetings when he go to speak, you know what he tells them? He says, listen, if the other candidates did not visit you as yet, and they're yet to come to speak to you, please invite the others and let them come out and listen to all the candidates. You need to listen and you need to make your own decision, your own informed decision. And that is what I call a big man. That is what I call a leader, not somebody who can go and tell the comrades pick up the phone and then got the surrogates because you endorse somebody, getting on Facebook and ranting you down and talking about who get promised and who just water up and surface and all sorts of nonsense, and what we trying to do in Linden to undermine what we trying to do. The PPP goes to Linden and do as they feel like, and those same persons are allowing it and they're saying nothing about it. Dr. Richard Van Charles is a member of the People's National Congress Reform, and he can go anywhere he wants and meet with members where he wants. And so because of his humbleness and because of his his past involvement in organizing and bringing together people and having things work, making things work. I believe that he has the quality that is needed to rebuild the People's National Congress reform, and that is why he's my choice for leader.
All right, Ms. Vanessa Kissoon talking about her choice for the leadership of the PNCR. It's her right, it's her democratic right to do so, and for anybody to support whomever they want to support. But let me say this to you both, and I'll say this publicly, as I may have said privately to Mr. Solomon, I believe, that I was actually honestly surprised when I heard of that endorsement. I actually thought that with the official reinstatement into the party, that either of you would have been running or seeking some office on your own. But when I heard of both of you endorsing Dr. Richard Van West Charles, that caught me by surprise. I must admit to that. But let me say to Mr. Sharma Solomon, in closing, let's say, for instance, that your candidate, your choice, doesn't win, and someone else wins. Are you willing to put whatever differences you may have with the others for the benefit of the party in order to unite it in approaching a general elections to defeat these vagabonds in office?
Mark, your question would have been answered in 2012. In 2020, it was answered. Notwithstanding whatever differences we have with people and people have with us, it took no more than a phone call to get us to be part of the 2020 elections. That we actively participated, that we were visible enough at those meetings to be present and to pronounce on, and to even craft strategies so that we can go after voters in a more aggressive way. So that question was answered a year ago. We are committed to our party. We have always been committed to our party. Whether we have a card or not, we have demonstrated that. We have shown how we could ensure people could be represented because of that. So, Mark, you're not asking something that people are unaware of. So, you ask about our commitment, not only in Linden or Region 10, and it is not because we have so performed for the people of Linden or Region 10, we believed we are owed any favor. Nobody owns Linden. Sharma Solomon don't own Linden. No politician owns Linden. Linden is a powerful, independent community. Dr. Charles mentioned earlier the fact that why he launched in Linden, because Linden resonates with that sort of rebellious struggle against oppression. It is where we need to be at this moment as a party, as a collective, rebelling against the sort of oppression and victimization that we see from the People's Progressive Party. So, not because people see our presence, people should take that we are taking people to Linden to give support to Dr. Charles. No, it is the quality. It is what I have recognized as an individual, that you have a big man in the room, somebody who's a we talk about associations. How could you associate anyone closer than Dr. Richard Van West Charles to our dearly departed comrade leader, Linden Farb Sampson Border? He practically gave one of the most critical service in the state, healthcare, for Dr. Charles to manage. You look at healthcare today, it still sits on the foundation of what the Burnham era was. Free healthcare, those policies are still there. The infrastructures are tangible before you to see. Beyond education and healthcare, those are the biggest budgetary allocation that the state makes. And that shows the sort of value that our comrade leader placed in the hands of Dr. Richard Van West Charles. This is health. America is fighting for free healthcare when we provided that as a policy under the watchful eyes of Dr. Richard. So you ask about being involved in statecraft. He was there. He understands that. Ms. Kissoon gives some highlights about international repertoire. You check that. It is not easy for someone to be out in the international arena representing the name Guyana. And he did that with class and style at every level of international medical organizations. And think about it, as a professional, he could have stayed away. He returned and he continued to serve his party. He always holding a party card. So I know people say, whether he's a party man, or we are aware that every member carries value. And administrative, 5 years, hundreds of thousands have gotten water. The Guyana Water Inc., the infrastructure and the structures on which the policies still rest is what was there 3-4 years ago. Nothing else have changed except the color of the water. Back to brown. So that is an easy question to answer with regards to the fact of what he brings as a leader. You can see that in the history of his work. You don't have to, those are factual, tangibles, you call that. But you talk about then bringing spirits on board so that we understand that people also bring those values. Those values you may not recognize or see. The value of ensuring we have unity. The value of ensuring that people are held accountable and are prepared to encourage ideas. That is really our fundamental problem, Mark. In this new age where people are quickly moving data around, quickly moving information around, data is more valuable than oil and gas, data. And you're preventing people from getting access to information. Information is power. Not just for Dr. Charles. Every candidate, if allowed to share their vision, then it makes it easier for members to evaluate the sort of talent we have in this party and be able to position that talent behind the positions that they can work effective to lead us. So I really admire that Dr. Charles has no slate, because every candidate is open now to be a part of that, which is a new movement of leadership without feeling. You know what the slate does, Mark? It further fractionalizes, it further divides, because people will see people who they don't like and people who they like on a slate and think they have to take sides or no sides. And that sort of behavior, Mark, is what he avoided, because he was given that sort of scope and allowance for people to put forward those ideas. Not that he's not with a vision is clear that we have to work from day one after the Congress to bring our party together. I can work with that. And that is why I am supporting Dr. Richard Van West Charles.
All right, Mr. Sharma Solomon, former chairman of Region Number 10, a man on the ground, a man who believes in the people, a man who has done a heck of a lot. And sometimes we don't see eye to eye, or in fact, we don't see eye to eye on everything. But we are still here as brothers in the struggle to talk about issues and democratic values and the way forward for Guyana. And in this instance, you're talking about the way forward for your party, the PNCR. I've noticed Renee Paris is saying something that I've been saying, or we have been saying right here on 107.1 FM. We have been calling for a debate. Aubrey Compton Norton has no problem with a debate. Dr. Richard Van West Charles has no problem with a debate. The only person that I cannot find right now to come on this show to say publicly or not whether he is in support of a debate and what are some of the things that he will do to turn the party around were he to become the leader is Joseph Frederick Harmon. Mr. Harmon, if you're watching this program, good evening to you. We are still awaiting your arrival to be interviewed right here on 107.1 FM. So I like that point, Renee, about a debate. I believe Norton wants a debate. Van West Charles wants a debate. I'm not sure if Harmon wants a debate. I don't know. But look, let's get to Ms. Vanessa Kissoon for your closing remarks, ma'am, in terms of the future of the party after this Congress. It seems there seem to be a lot of bad blood, something that should not be. But in politics, that is how it is. And at the end of it all, people kiss and make up. We see it here in the US. We saw with Barack Obama when he ran against Hillary Clinton. Everybody thought that Hillary was the person. I thought I gave up on Barack because Barack was a little known guy out of out of Chicago, fresh in the politics. Not too many people knew him, but he beat Hillary Clinton. Hillary was upset. Bill was upset. But at the end of the day, they put their differences aside in the interest of their party and country. Hillary Clinton later, I think she became the Secretary of State under Barack Obama, President of the United States of America. How do you see the PNCR after this Congress as part of your closing remarks, ma'am?
Okay, Mark. Before I answer your question, let me just clear the air because I was asked a question about and this is going back, but I just want to clear the air. The apology that I was asked to do by the party. I want to say, Mark, to your viewers, I did offer to apologize. I did. In fact, I had asked that myself and Oscar Clark met with the chairman and the leader of the party and a few others, so that I would have been able to, we would have made our cases and apologized to each other and even apologized to the party because the altercation took place at the headquarters. And that was turned down. So persons are still asking questions about an apology. And I want to say that, you know, it's it's water under the bridge now. Oscar Clark and I, long before would have made up. We would have hugged and, you know, we put our differences aside because we recognize that the party is bigger than us and we recognize that the country is bigger than us. And I said that to say this based on the question you're asking me. This is what we need. That sort of attitude and behavior is what we need, where comrades can hug or fist and, you know, say to each other, here, listen, I'm sorry, let's move on. The party is bigger than us. Oscar Clark and I did that. It was the party that was holding on to something, and we were able to move forward. We greet each other every time we see each other. There's no animosity, there's no anger, there's nothing between Oscar Clark and I other than love. And I can say that Oscar Clark, I see him, he could have been my grandfather, could have been my father, you know, I respect that. And so we moved on. And if we can have this type of attitude coming after this Congress, and not even till after, let us start now. Let us start mending and wounds and healing. We need that. Because if we don't, Mark, I will continue to say this, our children will suffer. This country will continue to suffer because we will continue to be, as we will normally say, crabs in a barrel. It is time for us to get rid of that attitude and work together. And listen, you know, persons will ask the question, oh, are you willing to work with Mr. Solomon said it before. We're always working. We get phone calls and we're asked to work. I got a phone call in 2020. And I was willing to always, I said to the comrade, I told her, I said, I've never left the party. And whenever called on, you know, we're there, whether I was suspended or not, whether I was on the list or not, Mark, we worked, myself and Mr. Solomon and team. And I want to say this again, it was never a one man. It was never a one man. It was always teamwork. And you know, we normally tell our students at school, teamwork makes the dream work. But we can only have teamwork when people mature and when we can put things aside and when we can, you know, work together. We can sit at a table. You know, sometimes, Mark, you got situations, even in your workplace, young people mightn't be talking, you know, but when a meeting is called and we got to go there and represent our organization and so on, listen, everybody come together. We say what we have to say. We work together. And the next day we gone back. You gone to your class, I gone to my class, and we business as usual. But when it comes to moving our organization forward, when it comes to ensuring that our organization gets the type of cooperation it needs, we come together, Mark. And this is what we need in the People's National Congress reform. We don't need people cussing out other candidates or cussing out people from the accreditation committee or cussing out your fellow comrade or member or abusing out one another. We don't need that. Not at this time. You see, and this is what we don't understand. The PPP likes that, you know. That is what they like. They like to see when we're divided. They like to see when we're fighting each other. They like to see when we're cursing each other. You understand? And so we give them that weapon. And you know what they do? While we're busy doing that, Mark, I said it before, they will creep in like this. And some of the weak ones, if that's the correct term, or those that, you know, kind of sometimes, because it's not just that people weak, people just become fed up and people looking for opportunities, looking to move forward, looking for whatever. They come in, and while you carrying on there, they're pulling them out one by one. One by one. Next thing you hear, somebody's over there. Somebody's over there. We need to move away from that. We're losing grounds. We cannot afford to lose grounds anymore. We have to now put more boots on the ground. We have to take up the boots on the ground mantle and show how really boots on the ground works. That is what we need to do. And in order for us to do that, we need to put our differences aside. We need to work together. And you know that song, I love that national song. And we need to do more of that, Mark. We need to start singing more of our national songs again. Let us cooperate for Guyana. Let us cooperate for our land. Mark, can we do it? Yes, we can. Thank you.
Can we do it for a better Guyana, to rid the country of this installed, corrupt, inept regime? Yes, we can. Who is the person that will be able to do that as leader of the People's National Congress reform? Will it be
Dr. Richard Van Westphal?
Will it be Joseph Frederick Hiding Harmon? Will it be Aubrey Compton Norton? Or will it be Dr. Richard Van Westphal? We don't know, at least I don't know as yet. We don't know as yet. But the bigger picture and the bigger fish to fry in all of this, when the dust is settled and the blood stains are dried up, not the physical blood stains, the political blood stains is dried up, it simply means there's one enemy to confront. And that is not Vanessa Kissoon. It is not Sharma Solomon. It is not those who would have supported whichever other candidate or whatever. Whoever becomes the winner, all differences ought to be placed aside and work in the interest of y'all party, the PNCR, and by extension, prepare for the next general and regional elections. That's all I wish to say. Mr. Sharma Solomon, I'll give you about a minute to say something in the event you missed. Go right ahead, sir.
So forward looking, because we have to, but before we get to forward looking, let me just take this opportunity again to recognize where the value of the entire party rests. It rests within the ability of the members being allowed to participate in the process. Those very static things like a constitution and those abstract things like the title and positions mean nothing if the members, if they are not allowed to have life by the membership. So as we talk about Congress at the moment, I want every member to recognize they have value. I want every party group to recognize that they have the sort of ability to get not only community members, but our general regions to stay mobilized. Once those groups are so structured to work, Mark, we're unstoppable at any general elections. because then you have momentum on your side. You cannot retard groups and individuals from growing, from maturing. And then when a general election is on you, because you are so divisive, because you have broken the thing up, you haven't allowed the groups and the structure to work, it becomes difficult as you proceed. But looking forward, this party have survived for over 60 years. It will continue to be here, I am certain, because of the sort of passion and culturing that those who founded this party and those who work within the foundations of this party have left as an institution. And we must work to preserve that. We must not be the generation, because of our petty differences and spitefulness, and because of our attitude towards fellow comrade, take this very important structure apart. It must not only work for us, but we must see it working for Guyana and beyond. That is my forward intention. We are right there on the cusp, right there on the brink of ensuring, once we unite our party, to unite our country with all the different coalition forces, because we have demonstrated that from the inception of this party, that we are prepared to work with different forces for the good and best of Guyana. And like Ms. Kissoon said, can we do it? Yes, we can.
Let me thank you guys, especially Ms. Kissoon. And why am I thanking Ms. Kissoon? It's after 11 in beautiful Guyana. And Ms. Kissoon is also a mother. She's also a teacher. She has to head out there. She's going through the pressures with the vagabonds in the regime targeting her and some others to be kicked out of the government taxpayers' quarters and all of these things. But outside of all of that, you're always out there, you're busy, you're doing your task, and you're not giving up on your people. You're not giving up on your party. You're not giving up on your country. And one of the things that I admire is that you stand strong in whatever you believe in. And people have to respect other people's choice. It is okay to disagree, but if you're going to disagree with someone, you do so respectfully. And never forget the contributions that this woman made to the party, to her region, number 10, and to the people of that region. She put her life on the line. And she's not someone, because she decided to support someone who you guys don't support, means that you have to forget all of what she has done and the sacrifices both of them have made, all because they didn't endorse somebody that you want them to endorse. It doesn't happen like that in a democracy. We must respect people's choices. And there are lots of people who support Aubrey Norton. They're some of my friends. They're some of my relatives. To each his own. There's some who support my good friend Hiding, still waiting to see him, Aubrey Norton. And there's some folks who support Dr. Richard Van West Charles. It is okay to do that. Nothing is wrong in supporting a candidate. What is wrong is insulting and disrespecting and cursing an individual, all because you want to wrestle them and bully them so that they can support your candidate. It doesn't happen like that. Egerton David, you know that. I know who you support, Egerton David. I know who you will always support, Egerton David, but not once will I chastise you or anyone for making that choice. And I mention your name, Egerton, because I see you've been busy in the comment section. And good evening to you and the family, Egerton. And to my guest, thank you both so much. What this reminds me of, it's back in the days when there were this warring faction in Jamaica between Mr. Manley and Mr. Siaga. And who stood on stage to bring those two together?
Bob Marley.
It was Bob Marley. Maybe we need a Bob Marley in the House. Maybe there should be a Bob Marley in the PNCR to bring the warring factions, to rinse out the bad blood, to bring people together, put the differences aside. Not just after this Congress, but maybe that process should start right now. Thank you both. God bless you all. Thank you for your contributions to Guyana.
You're welcome, Mark. God bless you.
Thank you, Mark, and you're welcome. And
Before we go,
thank you
Sharma, congratulations to you and your newborn.
Yes, Mark. I
Congratulations.
am a father for the second time.
Yeah.
We celebrated the birth of my baby girl, Amelia Joy Solomon. So I'm officially saying that. I sent you a few photographs.
Yeah, I saw that. I was looking to show it here, but yeah, maybe next time. But thank you so much, though.
Thanks for that.
Thank you for your time. All the best,
Yeah.
Sharma and Vanessa. All right. We've got to go. We'll be back tomorrow. This is a late night, but for those of you, don't forget that starting tomorrow morning, Guyana time, that is from 9 o'clock Guyana time, which would be 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we have a brand new show on 107.1 FM. 107.1 FM. It's called The Mid-Morning Show with Gabriella Patram. Current affairs, politics, you name it, and social issues and things happening in the newspapers and so forth and so on. Don't forget, tune in and spread the word. And to all of you, it doesn't matter to me who you support. It doesn't matter at all. Good evening to all of you guys, every one of you. Again, all of the candidates have time on Ben Shop Radio. As you've noticed, we got our studio back up and running. It was kind of like shut down because of the pandemic and so forth, but it's back up and running. We want to see all of the candidates, especially the 3 who have accepted nomination so far. We want to see them in the studio so that they can talk about what their plans are for the People's National Congress reform. Let us have a democratic process. Whether it's Aubrey Norton, it's okay for you guys to vote for a candidate of your choice. Whether it's, we're still looking for Mr. Harmon. Good evening to you if you're watching, right? Or whether it is Dr. Richard Van West Charles. All of these people I know personally. And again, I repeat, I have absolutely no horse in the race. Absolutely none. But if I were to choose one, you guys already know. If I were to make a choice, I don't want people to put me in a box. I don't like that. Don't put me in a box. If I were to choose a candidate, I would have been the first to say who that candidate that I support. I would have been the first to say that. I don't have to beat around the bush. I don't have to sue behind walls and curtains. I would have been man enough because I'm that man. But I have no horse in the race. I don't know if things are going to change. Things are going to change. Sorry, closer to the nomination elections day. I doubt it. But exercise your democratic right in choosing who you want to be the next leader of your party, the People's National Congress Reform. And I say your party because for those card-bearing members, it matters. Those who have a card, those who are actual members of the party. We wish all the best. I like this video. I like this message, and I'm going to play it again. Hopefully some of the folks from the installed PPP regime are watching. This is directed specifically for them. It doesn't mean that a couple of them aren't in the opposition, but specifically for the PPPC. God bless you, and God bless the beautiful country called Guyana. Thank you all, you beautiful people, for tuning in this evening. God bless you. So long.
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief? Number one, the ordinary thief steals your money, your bag, your watch, and your jewelry, isn't it? But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. Number two, the hilarious part is that the ordinary thief will choose whom to rob. But you are the one who choose the political thief to rob you. Because we choose them. We vote them. We blindly say we are not blind. Who is deceiving who? The ridiculous part of the whole issue is that we will fight to defend and protect our belongings from the ordinary thief. Is it not? But we fight each other to defend and protect the political thief. Is that not what we do? Thugs will be fighting themselves to protect those that are stealing our career, stealing our joy, stealing our health, stealing our success. What a shame. What a travesty. It calls for us to think and think deep. The stage we are in as a country is not a stage where you become an onlooker. You have become an onlooker for too long. You must get ready to put your hands to the plow and be part of the process. It's not just about PVC, carry PVC. You must be in the kitchen where it is being determined. You must be there where the decisions are being made. We are there in our numbers, they cannot outnumber us. But you leave it aloof. Oh, no, it's too dirty. It's a dirty game. And then the dirty guy is getting to the game of play. And you are there not showing up. And when they begin to make the decisions, you will know whether it's a dirty game or not. The result is always dirty on yours. Dirty on your health. Dirty on your business. Dirty on your success and your career. I hope that is stirring up something in you.